Hello friends! Today I'm going to be challenging myself to see if I can read 200 pages a day for 1 week. My name is Lexi and welcome back to my channel. It is lovely to see you here. Today, I'm gonna be starting a new experiment, and that experiment is, can I read 200 pages a day? I don't know who started this concept, but I have seen it on YouTube in like various forms, 100 pages a day, 150 pages a day, but the max I've seen so far is 200 pages a day, and I do feel like that sounds like a challenge. So I really wanted to do this challenge for a couple of reasons, but the main reason is because I really want to develop the habit of reading every single day. I used to do this all the time as a kid, and also I used to do this all of the time when I first started my channel, but now I find that it's hard to carve out a consistent amount of time every single day, and I really want to get back into that. So I'm hoping that the challenge will actually help me maybe develop that habit of reading every single day. Now the question is though, will I actually hit the 200 pages a day? And for that question, I guess you're just going to have to watch and see. So without further ado, let's jump into day number 1. It is day number 1 of trying to read 200 pages a day for a week. Today is Tuesday. We're starting this on a Tuesday. And I did read 100 pages this morning of my newest read, which is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. This is actually a book club pick, and I'm super excited to be discussing it with all of my patrons for our book club. And I love it so far. So I'm on chapter 13. I got to exactly 100 pages. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm so glad that I started with this one because I feel like this challenge is gonna be hard. Like, it's gonna be really hard to sustain that pace of 200 pages a day. And so I think if I had started with a book that was like a lot more slow pace, I don't know if like I would succeed the first day. And I really feel like what I need is momentum. I need to succeed for at least 2 or 3 days. Well, I really need to succeed for the whole week, but I need to like know that it's not gonna be impossible, because right now I feel like 200 pages is essentially like a small book a day, and that seems really hard. So I'm really glad that I started with this one because it's so engaging and it's so interesting, and I already know the world because I read Legends and Lattes. So I'm just like very happy, and I had the best time reading it this morning. This is the prequel to Legends and Lattes, and this is Travis Baldree's newest book. We're following Viv, who is an orc, and Viv is a relatively new member of this group called the Ravens, and they go on adventures and they go into battle. She gets really severely injured, and so she gets dropped off at this little sleepy coastal town, and she's basically told by like the leader of the Ravens, you need to heal up, you can't fight or like help us at all until you fix your leg, because she's been very badly injured. And Viv does not want anything to do with this sleepy town. She is like in her peak and her prime. She wants to be out fighting. She's a very different person than she is in Legends and Lattes, but as she is staying in this sleepy little town, she discovers a bookshop, and she kind of becomes friends with the bookshop owner named Fern. I think she's basically trying to help Fern fix up the bookshop. So it's about her time kind of in this sleepy little town, getting to know everybody, getting to know the baker and the innkeeper. And if you loved Legends and Lattes for the cozy vibes, you will love this, because I mean, right off the bat, we had like so many wonderful descriptions of bacon and food from the pub that she's staying in, and all of these delicious buns and biscuits from the bakery. And it feels so cozy and atmospheric with the bookshop. And actually, she is kind of starting to fall in love with books for the first time too. And it's like a book lover's dream. Like if you love fantasy and you love books and you love cozy vibes, this is for you. Now you might be asking yourself, why are we in the car? Great question. Well, before I jump into work for the day, I have like a lot of things to do for my patron and then also a couple of things to prep for my YouTube channel because I want to film some videos this week. But before we do that, I just checked and Barnes & Noble has my new patron book for next month in. So we're reading something called The Honey Witch and it's like a cozy fantasy. It just seems so wonderful. I've been excited for this release all year long, basically, like ever since I found out about it. And I don't know how many copies they're gonna have, so I'd like to go on the day that it releases and like snatch up a copy before there are none left. So I'm super, super excited to pick this up. It'll be perfect too because it's next month's read, and I think what I might want to do is after I read this book, I think I might want to jump into that book so that I'm a little bit ahead. That'll be really nice. So the goal today is to go to Barnes & Noble, pick up The Honey Witch, and then also there's a couple other books that I'd like to pick up and read because I think I want to do a very specific book recommendation list, and I've been researching books that'll go on the list. There are a couple of titles that I don't have that I'd like to read and see if I want to put them on the list, and I checked and Barnes & Noble also has those. So we're gonna do a little bit of book shopping today. It's a rainy, gloomy day. We can't be out too long because it's like a very busy day, but I just figured I'd take you along and we can do some book shopping. So without further ado, let's hit up Barnes & Noble. We are here! Yeah. Okay, so the first book I think is by Melissa Broder. I think it's called The Pisces. Broder. Oh. Perfect. I'm really tempted to get this one too because I've heard this is really good, but we'll just start with The Pisces. Okay, the next one is called I'm a Fan, I think, and it's by, is it Sheena Patel? Something Patel, and I think it's green. Oh, perfect. I prefer the UK cover, but I just want to read it, so this is great. I think that might be it, but now that I'm here, I'm obviously gonna like look around, and also we have to try to find The Honey Witch. Hello, besties. You are balanced on quite the stack of books, and I have another stack of books that I'm going to share with you. Book haul! So the first one is just the book that I was showing you. I just stuck it in the bag. So it's not a new book because it's the one that I am reading. Then, you guys, I got the only copy of The Honey Witch, and I'm so glad that I went in early because I promise you, 2 people on my way to the register were like, oh, I came in for that. One was a bookseller, so like she knew that there was only one, and she was like, oh, I'm gonna order more right now. I actually felt really, really bad that I was taking the last one. I knew though that would happen. I feel like with Barnes & Noble, they usually only order one if it's like a new or a debut author to see kind of how it does, and then if it does well, then they order more pretty quickly. I got The Honey Witch and I'm so excited. This is by Sydney J. Shields. Look at how beautiful it looks. It's just supposed to be a little like cottagecore fantasy. It's supposed to be really, really cute. I'm really, really excited to read this with all my patrons. The next one I got is this one, I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. This book is actually like really popular online, specifically on Book Talk. And all I know is that it's about a messy main character, and she starts, I think she has a boyfriend, but she starts an affair, I think, with a guy who is also having an affair with another woman who is, I guess, an influencer online or something, and the main protagonist becomes obsessed with the influencer. And apparently it's just like a messy, weird love triangle thing. It sounds like more than just a triangle, but like, yeah. So I'm excited. Next up, I got The Pisces. I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this. I've seen the cover for such a long time. So many people have said this is so good. I want to say that this has a little bit of potentially like magical realism or speculative writing in it, and I don't know, like the cover got me. So I just decided to pick it up. Then, okay, the bookseller was so sweet. The one who showed me The Honey Witch and then was like, oh, I'm gonna order more because I really want one. She actually recommended this book, and I read the back and I was like, I am so excited. So like big shout out to her because I'm obsessed with how it sounds. I'll read it. I've never heard of this before. I feel like it's relatively new, and it's called How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. And this is by Django Wexler. I want to say this is what it looks like. Let me read you the back. Davy has done all this before. She's tried to be the hero and take down the all-powerful Dark Lord. 100 times she's rallied humanity and made the final charge, but the time loop always gets her in the end. Sometimes she's killed quickly, sometimes it takes a while, but she's defeated every single time. This time she's done being the hero and done being stuck in the endless time loop. If the Dark Lord always wins, then maybe that's who she needs to be. It's Davy's turn to play on the winning side. And like so many people who I really like are giving it like praise. Like Sean McGuire is on here. It says fast-paced, brilliant, raunchy, unforgettable. Raunchy? Wait, so is it a little bit of like maybe a romance too? I'm so excited. I think this is gonna be great. I love it. I love it when booksellers give recommendations. Yes, the answer is yes. And then this last one is a book called Mostly Dead Things, and it's by Kristen Arnett, I think. And this is another one that is kind of like a book talk darling on the side of book talk that I'm on. I've seen this recommended in several TikTok videos by creators that I really, really like. And it just sounds really quirky and kind of weird. All I know is that this is about a woman who is a taxidermist, and apparently like her father passes away and she's grappling with that grief along with mourning the loss, I guess, of like her first love, which I don't think that they died. I think that it didn't work out, and her first love was actually her sister-in-law. And that just sounds very messy, very interesting, and also, yeah, very, very quirky. So those are the books. Was I expecting to get that many? I really was not. I thought I was gonna walk out with like 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I guess I only walked out with like 2 extra, and I've been wanting this one for a while, so I'm really excited to get this. Here are all of the books, and I am so excited to read them. So now, let me see what time it is. It is later in the day. It is 11:15. I will catch up with you at the end of the workday, and we will continue reading Bookshops and Bone Dust. And then I think actually the next book that I'm going to read after this is going to be The Honey Witch. Okay guys, I think that's it. So I will catch up with you at the end of the day. Bye. Hello friends. It's about to be 7 o'clock at night and I'm actually really tired. Today was like a super productive, successful day. So I'm really, really happy with everything, but I'm actually gonna stop. I was gonna keep working, but I think I'm gonna stop because I'm gonna guess it's gonna take me at least an hour and a half to read the next 100 pages of this book. And I really don't want to fail the challenge. I'm gonna go ahead and go downstairs, get kind of comfy and start to read the rest of Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. I'm actually really excited about continuing on in this. Okay, I will catch up with you once I have hit the next 100 pages, hopefully. Hello besties, it's about to be 9 o'clock at night and I have just hit day number 1's challenge. I'm on chapter 27, which is page 20, well, that's 204, so 205. So I technically read over by 4 pages and I feel really, really good about it. I actually thought that the challenge would be a lot harder. I think it's gonna be harder like as the week goes on. And I also think that it would be really hard if this book sucked. Luckily, it doesn't suck. I got really lucky with this challenge because I really, really, really like this book a lot. I'm extremely tempted to read a little bit longer. I don't think I'm gonna read because I'm at a really great place where I wanna know what happens next. So I feel like maybe that will help me like stay motivated in the morning. The thing is though, now I don't know what I want to read next because I was originally going to do The Honey Witch, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I want to read that one directly after because they're both cozy fantasies and I kind of want to give like a little bit of space in between. I don't know if you do that, but like I like to spread out different genres sometimes. Day number 1 was a success. morning, friends. It is not the next day. It is the third day of the experiment. Yesterday, I was very successful with the experiment, but I was very unsuccessful with doing anything productive. So one thing that I'm learning from this experiment is that this would be really hard to maintain while doing your full-time job, because I have had so much less time for editing, answering emails, making stuff for my patron. Like yesterday, it took me a lot longer to read, and then I kind of had like a slower start and I didn't get as much stuff done. And so I just decided to not update the vlog so that I could focus the rest of my time on just trying to make up work. So if you're doing this experiment, like I don't know if I could do this every single day. It's taking me hours. I should probably try timing it, but I'm gonna guess between 3.5 to maybe like 4 hours a day just to hit the 200. So it's definitely been a challenge, but I have hit it every single time. So let me catch you up. Yesterday, I did finish Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. You guys, this is a 5-star. This is like one of the best books that I've read this year. This is gonna be in my top 10. I definitely love it as much as Legends and Lattes. I think I still love that one more, but I don't know, because this one was just so good. And I was nervous going into this because I love Legends and Lattes so much that I thought maybe I would be like a little let down. Not the case. Like it's so good. It was cozy, it was sweet, but also there were so many really beautiful and like poignant things that were happening in this book. I just like loved it. I loved it so much. There were so many like times that I dog-eared the pages and underlined things. I just 5 stars. So good. This one, I think I read the full 100 and then I went over because I stopped at page 200 and this ends at 332. So that means that from this book, I read 132 pages, which meant that I only had to read 70 pages of another book, but I ended up actually reading a full other book. And that book is I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. Now this one is not that long. This one is 203, but it's a really interesting format because a lot of the book, I don't know if you can see that, but it has like little fragments, like that's a section. Some of the chapters are longer, but some are like very short. And so I ended up just flying through this book right afterwards. So this book is like 203 pages. I guess that means that yesterday, technically, I read 135 pages over, which would mean I think my total was like 335 pages. Another thing about the experiment is while it is taking up a bunch of time, it is also reigniting my love of reading, because once you have it in your mind that like you're gonna give yourself permission to read, it is so much easier to fall in with a story. I don't know if that's like anybody else, but for me, sometimes I feel kind of guilty taking up time to read in a way that I don't feel when I'm scrolling my phone or like watching Netflix or something. And so it's been really nice to give myself that permission every single day to read. I don't know. Anyways, let me tell you about this book. I decided to pick this one up because, well, I just bought it, but also I wanted to pick it up because I've heard so many great things about it and I'm so glad I read this. First of all, this is not going to be a book for everyone, but for some people, it is going to be a 5-star. And I think for me, it's between a 4 and a 5-star, but the writing was so good. I'm so tempted to give it a 5-star. I'm not sure yet. I'm still letting my thoughts digest. The book is about a woman. I think she's unnamed, and I don't think any of the characters really in here, aside from like 2, are named, but she is in love, more like obsessed than in love, but like obsessed with this man. This man is married and he's having an affair with her, but like he is trying to move on from who he was really in love with, who was another woman who he was having an affair with. And the woman that he was having an affair with is an American influencer. And so this woman, the main protagonist, is obsessed with him, but she ends up becoming obsessed with her, meaning like the social media influencer who's an American. And she's obsessed with her because she's so obsessed with him and he is obsessed with her, with like the influencer. And so she becomes like really obsessed with this woman because she's like, what do you have that I don't have? It's very toxic, okay? Don't read this book if you don't enjoy reading about toxic characters. There is not a single person in this book who is likable. The main protagonist is so unlikable. She is so annoying and clingy and obsessive, and she treats her boyfriend terribly because of course she is in a relationship. So the book is not going to be for happy relationships or anything like that, but the writing in it was so good. A lot of it kind of almost read like poetry, and a lot of it is written like poetry because it's in little fragments. The entire thing is written almost as like stream of conscious, so it's just her thoughts. Nothing is really in order. It's not in a linear timeline or anything like that. She's dissecting her obsession with this man and with this social media influencer, but as she's dissecting her relationships and her obsession with both of them, she's also dissecting her relationship with society and how she believes that her obsession with wanting to be like in with this guy is really a reflection of how she wants to be accepted from society. I think she is Indian and she feels like she doesn't really seamlessly blend in with the culture where she lives and with the people she wants to be with, and she feels ostracized and very outcast. I think a lot of the book is basically her trying to grapple with, if I can get him to love me, then maybe I can get society to love me. And there were so many quotes in here. There were so many lines where I was underlining and just, I don't know, it felt like literal poetry. It was so beautiful. This, I just need to say this too. This has a very low rating on Goodreads, okay? And a lot of people I think are not necessarily going to like it. I loved it. Like, I thought it was so good. I could not put it down. I was not expecting to just sit down and read an entire novel, but I did. And it was just really fantastic. If you love messy, unhinged narrators, if you love a lot of commentary on obsessive love and on unrequited love, if you like messy relationship dynamics, if you like stream of consciousness, I think you would really like this because I thought it was really, really well done. It's a fairly short book. I would say that my only critique is that towards the end, it did get slightly repetitive. And I know that that's kind of the point of this book, is she's obsessive and so she keeps going over the same thoughts again and again. I think that it could have actually been edited down just a little bit more, but overall, I just thought this was so strong and so fantastic, and the writing voice was incredible. I think for my personal enjoyment, I'm gonna give it a 4-star, maybe a 4.5 star, but it was so worth the read. Yeah, so far I have 2 recommendations. I think universally, most people are going to love this. Super high rating on Goodreads, made me happy, made me feel warm and cozy, made me feel like safe. It was just like such a joyful, happy experience. This one, messy, dramatic, made me stressed out, could not stop reading it, could not look away. Totally different vibes. I don't think this is gonna be for everyone, but I did thoroughly enjoy reading it. And then this morning, I did decide to start The Honey Witch, and this is by Sydney J. Shields. This is my Patreon book club pick for the month of June, I believe. I'm on chapter 6, page 57. This again is a cozy fantasy. I'm really, really excited to read this with all of my patrons, and this morning I decided actually to start reading it at park at the best time. I will say that this book is not grabbing my attention as much as this book, or even as much as this book, and I don't know if that's because I'm reading a high quantity or if it's just the book. The vibes of the book are amazing. Briefly, the synopsis of this is it's about a girl named Marigold. Marigold feels like she doesn't belong in society. I think like Bridgerton vibes, okay? She has to find a husband. She's 21. She feels like she doesn't fit in, and she's kind of been rejected by a guy that she really, really liked, and she just doesn't want anything to do with high society. She feels really, really different. And then one day her grandma comes around and she's like, surprise, you're a witch. Very like Halloween Town vibes, because her mom is like, you're not, oh my gosh. And also that girl's name is Marnie, and this girl's name is Marigold, but her mom calls her Mary. So they are very like similar vibes actually. Love that. But kind of like in Halloween Town, how the mom is like, Marnie, you're not going with your grandma. You're not gonna become a witch. You're not gonna have powers. The exact same thing. Her mom is like, you're not going with your grandma. You're not gonna be a witch. You're not gonna have powers. I have to say, it's like just as dramatic, because this girl is like shouting at her mom and she's like, I am supposed to be a witch. Don't tell me what to do. And then she like runs off with her grandma. The vibes so far are kind of like Half a Soul meets Practical Magic, and then with a synopsis that reminds me of Halloween Town. Sounds like my perfect book. And a lot of the quotes in here are really stunning, really, really beautiful. But sometimes it just reads a little bit more slow. I think it's a slower paced book than either of these, because this was a pretty fast paced fantasy, even though it was cozy. And this one was just so dramatic that I could not put this down. I'm on chapter 6. Normally I would have read up to like 100 pages. I'm only on page 56. 6 because I think it is going a little bit more slow for me. And I do really need to focus on like work today. So I think I'm just gonna have to read a bunch of this at night. But hopefully I can hit my goal today, which is to get to part 3. That's exactly at 200 pages, which is the goal for today. And then I do think I've actually picked the next couple of books that I'm going to read. So if all goes well and I actually finish this book by tomorrow, then I think my plan is going to be next to reach for Rouge and then finally to reach for When We Lost Our Heads. That's it for my update. I'm now gonna go ahead and start getting to work. But yeah, it's been really fun so far. I've really enjoyed the experiment actually. I will catch up with you at the end of the day. Bye! Hello besties. It is the next day. It is the next day. I am so sorry that I did not update you. I didn't have anything to update you on. You know why? Because I did not read 200 pages. One thing that I'm learning about this experiment is, and I think this is important, how crucial it is to really love what you're reading. And this is, I think, something that's actually really important to remember when you're talking to a person who maybe doesn't read a lot, or maybe a kid who hasn't fallen in love with reading yet. I think, honestly, you're an avid reader when you love what you're reading. Enjoyment in what you're reading is so crucial and important, I think, to like a reader's success. And I'm so sad to report, I don't love The Honey Witch. And the thing is, on paper, it has everything that I think I would love, like down to the premise. Everything about this, the plot and the concept and stuff sounds so great, but I feel like I'm not connecting with Sydney's writing. I actually think that she has the potential to be a great writer. When it does connect, I feel like her writing is really strong. There's some really beautiful prose in here, and there's some really strong messages, but I don't like the characters. I do not like the main character. I cannot stand the love interest, and I just feel like so much of the book feels kind of forced. First of all, the main character is like the world's biggest pick-me, and that's a big part of the book. Actually, I think is going to be her growth. So at one point she goes over to her grandmother's cottage and she's like learning how to do potions. This one lady comes in and she really wants to look good for this guy. She wants to get this guy's attention. And so her grandma makes her lipstick, and the lipstick's supposed to just kind of like bring some attention to her. And when the lady leaves, she's like so excited about this lipstick, and she's so excited that maybe this guy will pay attention to her, which is, I mean, go off, you know, like that's amazing. Love that. We've all wanted that person's attention, you know what I mean? But like immediately, as soon as she leaves, our main character, Marigold, immediately starts like making fun of her. She literally like starts making fun of her. And I had to put the book down. I was like, why? And then the grandma kind of calls her out on it. She's like, why are you scoffing at that? She pretends to be this girl. She's like, oh, look at me. Like, I care so much about blah, blah, blah. And the grandma's like, yeah, that's not, you're not doing what you think you're doing. Who cares? And who are you to say what path is right? If somebody wants to dress up and try to get their crush's attention, that's fine. And so I know that these moments are put in the book on purpose so that we as the reader can reflect on the behavior and say like, yeah, that's not really great. And, you know, as a feminist and as a woman, we're supposed to be supporting all women's choices, things like that. I understand the purpose. It's just that Marigold is so unlikable to me. Also, I just feel like so many things are kind of forced in the book. She doesn't know her grandma. She spent one summer with her grandma once, apparently, and she doesn't even remember it. She says that she does not remember it, and I think it's because of this magical thing that happened. But then as soon as she sees her grandma, she immediately is like hugging her all the time and saying like, I love you so much. I never want to let you go. Like they're just acting very close. Like she's acting very close to her grandma, but without any history that she can remember. It just feels forced, because even if I met my grandma, and let's pretend that I never knew her, you might have like that love knowing like, oh, she's my grandma. That's amazing. I'm so excited to hang out with her. I'm so excited to get to know her better. But like as people, we need like time to develop what it's like to be around another person and see their boundaries and see what we're both comfortable with, no matter what. And so a lot of the book feels kind of forced with their relationships and things. The concepts of the book are so good, but everything feels really forced kind of, and it's not flowing in like a natural way. And because of this, because I'm not enjoying my time in this, I just really did not want to read. Last night I think I stayed up working until about 10:30 at night, and then I was like, there's no way. There's no way that I have the motivation to read, because the only times that I have the motivation to read when I'm tired is when I'm like obsessed with the book. But this book is just really not what I was hoping for, and so I actively don't want to do the challenge. Let me tell you what I'm doing today. I am dressed up because today I'm doing a Bridgerton watch along party with my patrons. Actually, okay, so I ended up like doing this whole background for my stream and I'm so excited about it. Like I did like little cutouts, I decorated everything. I'll show you. Let me show you. So I'm so excited. I did like little cutouts of Penelope and Colin, and then I have watch along party here, and then it says Bridgerton here, and then there's me dressed up. Yay! Okay, so that is the live, and I'm actually gonna go live with my patrons in about 2 hours or so, but that's like the main focus for today. I've been working all day long. I think going forward, watch me say this and then fail, but I think I need to wake up really early. Or honestly, I'm not gonna get the goal counts. The thing is, I have so much stuff that is due and I cannot afford to not do it. Like this weekend, I need to film 2 or 3 different sponsorship things, but then also a couple of different standalone videos. I also really need to finish editing a couple of things. There's a couple of things that I really need to prioritize for Patreon so that everything goes out on time as well. And I don't wanna fail this challenge. And that means I think I'm gonna have to wake up really early. So I guess I will see you then. Bye. Hello, besties. It has been, well, not that long. I just didn't update you yesterday, but I do have some updates. So I did indeed finish The Honey Witch, which means that I did read over 200 pages. And so here is my update. I think that this has a lot of potential. I feel like the premise sounds really great. I just don't think that this book was necessarily for me. It sounds like it would be for me. And I feel like the plot-wise sounded really great. There were so many elements in the book that I was really excited about. While the premise was a really good idea, I just felt like the writing felt kind of a little bit all over the place. The pacing was really off. Sometimes it would feel really slow, and then all of a sudden, like months would go by. We had these kind of established relationships that happened quite quickly, but we didn't really see them grow or anything. We basically were told the story, but we weren't really shown the story. We didn't really see things develop naturally. It was more like we were told Mari and her grandmother are now super close, or Mari now has feelings for this character, Lottie. Our main character was so unlikable. I also never really liked the love interest. I didn't really like the characters in here. I want to just say like a mild brief spoiler. It won't be for the end or anything like that, but just a mild brief spoiler. So if you don't want to hear it, just skip this one little part. There's one part in there where her best friend August is telling Lottie, that's his best friend and also adopted sister. He's like, you know, I'm never ever gonna leave you. I promise, like no matter what, because she has abandonment issues, right? She was abandoned as a child and she was adopted by his family. And he was like, I'm never ever gonna leave you, I promise. They go on a trip and a day later, he meets his soulmate, proposes, and then is like, see ya, Lottie. And it's like, what? that happened so quick. All right, spoilers over. That's just like one example. I just feel like there were so many times in this book where we made jumps so quickly without a lot of development to the story or the characters. Also, it just felt really random. Like there was a masquerade ball thrown in there out of nowhere. There was another trope that was thrown in there at the end and I was like, where did that come from? However, I will say, this is her debut book. This is her debut book. I don't even know if I could write a book like this for my debut. And I'm giving her a little bit of grace because it is her first published book. And that would be really hard. And I feel like you're kind of establishing your voice as a writer for the first book or 2 that are being published. If the book sounds good to you, I do recommend that you pick it up, but those are my thoughts. Okay, now today is already midday. So I'm gonna be reading a lot tonight because I did not read anything this morning. But today I will be trying to read 200 pages in Rouge, and this is by Mona Awad. I'm very excited about this one. I'm also really nervous now because, to be honest, I'm in a little bit of like a reading slump because of the last book. I'm gonna be honest with you, if I'm not feeling this book within like the first 30 pages, I'm going on to the next book because I really want to finish this experiment strong. But what I have learned about this experiment is the page number is challenging to meet every day, but it's way easier if you love what you're reading. That is the update. My goal is to read 200 pages in this. I will catch up with you hopefully tonight and I will let you know how it goes and my overall thoughts on the book. Bye. Hello. Okay, so it's actually really late at night and I'm really tired, but I have made it to page 100, chapter 9. And I wanted to give an update now because I think what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take off all of my makeup, take a bath, and do some skincare. Okay, so the book has commentary on the beauty industry, but like oddly, all this talk of like skincare is making me want to do my skincare. That's what I'm gonna do for the rest of the night. I'm actually gonna do like a face mask. I don't know, I'm really excited about it. I'm tired, but I'm also inspired. This book is so well written. It's so well written. The lines in here are this really wonderful dichotomy of whimsical and weird. It's like you read it and half of it feels like a fairy tale, half of it feels like a fever dream. I love it. I love it. Also, everything is flowing really nicely. If you like the surrealism and weird aspects of Bunny, you'll love this book because this book has dialed it up. Except this book is really focusing on like fairy tales and things, which I freaking love. Even though I am completely exhausted, I will have no problem hitting the 200 mark tonight because it's just so good. And so I guess the main takeaway from this experiment is it really hard to hit this word count goal? It is. You're gonna be reading 4 hours a day, especially if you do what I did, which was a mistake, and like save it all for the nighttime. That is actually really hard. But I will say this, it is 100% possible if you are loving the books that you are reading, because this book has my heart. Like, this book is so good. It's so entertaining and fascinating and just like weird and well paced. And the writing, I mean, Mona Awad is so good. I've only read Bunny by Mona Awad, but this is really making me want to pick up All's Well, which was another book by Mona Awad. We're following Mirabelle. Mirabelle's mom has passed away. She herself, Mira or Belle, is like completely obsessed with skincare, and her mom always looked beautiful. And she goes back to California. She's from Canada, and when she goes back to California, she ends up kind of getting lost. Like, these red shoes take her to this mysterious manor, and the manor is kind of almost like a secret society / spa. Weird things are happening, and it's so intriguing. Anyways, my camera's about to die. That is my update. I'm loving the book so much. I'm gonna go do my skincare, read this until I pass out, and I will catch up with you tomorrow. I think tomorrow's the last day of the experiment, so we'll see if I hit the mark tonight and also tomorrow. Bye. Hello, friends. It is officially the last day of the experiment. Let me give you a final update. So last night, after my last update with you, I did end up doing a nice face mask, and then I read up to page 200, and then this morning I read the rest of this book. The book itself is 369 pages, which means this book almost hit my 200-page goal. I had to read about 31 pages of any other book, and I started reading When We Lost Our Heads by Heather O'Neill. So, first of all, this book was so weird. It was so weird, but it was also so freaking good. This book is really, I think it's gonna be so niche in its audience because it's just literally like I would say the last half of the book really is 100% just goes into surrealism. It's so absurd and strange and weird. The whole thing to me feels just like one big fever dream. I will say that while I thought this was unbelievably brilliant, I do think that it would have been stronger if it had been cut just a little bit shorter because it is so weird and so surreal at the end. I think that your audience can like stay there, but I think it maybe could have been condensed slightly. So for me, I won't give away like any of the stuff that happens at the end of the book, but for me, this was 369 pages. I think it would have been a little stronger if it was around 340 pages. So maybe we cut off just like 30 pages somehow like at the end. However, it was so well done. I don't know what my personal rating is. It's between a 4.5 and a 5-star. The message in here was a 5-star. The writing was a 5-star. It just sort of dragged on a little bit towards the end. So I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5, but honestly, I don't know. I do feel like it's worthy of 5 stars. It was so weird, but also so good. And the writing in this was just phenomenal. Also, there is so much important commentary on a variety of topics in the beauty world, but like it's so much deeper than even I think the synopsis even leads it to be. And it feels like it's gonna be a pretty deep and important book because we are discussing topics of like beauty, but it's incredible. Like it touches on topics of maybe feeling like you have to merge and become more white in a society, like if you maybe have like a different skin tone or if your ethnicity is different. It has a lot of commentary on how mothers and daughters love each other so much, but how because of society and like the societal pressures to be forever young and forever beautiful, sometimes society itself can create like unnecessary and stupid like conflicts between them where there's competition. It had commentary on how your first love as a young girl can sometimes affect how you see yourself. It had a lot of conversations about envy and about loving ourselves and how unique we are. And it was just done in this very not cheesy, super wonderful, super authentic and really cutting edge way, and I loved it, and I thought it was great. But also, I don't know who I would recommend this to. If you loved the weird aspects of Bunny, you'll love this. But if you just want a book that's gonna have commentary on the beauty industry and is gonna be more of like a literary fiction type book, I don't know if you would like this, because while this is literary fiction and it was done brilliantly, it is a lot more strange than Bunny. And that's saying something because Bunny is really strange, but it gets really, really strange and bizarre, but it worked for me so well. I love this book. And then I just started this book. I'm on page 30. I don't have like a lot of thoughts on this book because I literally just had to get to page 30, but the book is following 2 girls. It opens up really interesting. The book is about 2 girls, Marie and then her bestie, Sadie. They both live in the 1800s and they're both, well, actually Marie is the one who's super, super wealthy, and her friend, they're kind of wealthy, but they're also kind of like pretending to be wealthy. Marie can't find anybody who can keep up with her. They're both very, very pretty. And then one day she spots Sadie and she just knows that Sadie is gonna be like the one, like her chosen friend or whatever. We're just learning more about them and who they are as people, but I can see how this friendship is gonna turn very toxic because it literally opens up, like the story itself opens up with them dueling basically to the death when they're 12 and things happen. It's very dramatic and strange. I can't imagine wanting to like duel with an actual, you know, and bullet with one of my best friends. So anyways, I can see how this relationship is gonna turn toxic really, really quickly and how it's gonna be very destructive and strange. But I love the writing style. It reminds me a lot of like Marie Antoinette, which I feel is probably really intentional because one of the main characters' name is Marie. She has blonde hair and she's very, very pretty. They both are supposed to look like dolls. They're just both really drawn to each other because no one can keep up with the other one. And so far, it's really, really, really good. So briefly, let me share with you all of the books that I read with a quick rating, and then we will talk about the experiment itself. So I started off the experiment really strong with reading Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree, a cute, cozy little fantasy, 5 stars. I loved it so much. Next up, I picked up I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. This was the weirdest literary fiction ever, but I flew through this. It was dramatic and messy, and none of the characters were likable, but I could not look away. And the writing in this I thought was really poignant and sharp and witty and interesting. And I think I would give this 4.5, but also potentially a 5. Not gonna be for everybody, but I really, really enjoyed it. Next up, I picked up The Honey Witch by Sydney Shields. And listen, if the premise sounds good, please pick it up. But sadly, I don't think this one really worked for me very much. I didn't really enjoy my time in this world. It's a cozy fantasy. It's sapphic. It has Bridgerton vibes. I really, really thought this was gonna be the best book of the year that I read, and I hope that you pick it up. I hope that this is your best book of the year if the premise sounds good, because I just didn't like really connect to the writing style of this, but that is so subjective. So if the premise sounds good, please pick it up. And then the last book that I fully finished was Rouge by Mona Awad, a book all about the beauty industry and mother and daughter relationships and grief and how weird and absurd and surreal it is to fall into the world of beauty itself. I thought this was fantastic. I thought it was wild. I thought it was so weird. 4.5, 5 stars. I loved it so much. And then finally, I have just barely started When We Lost Our Heads by Heather O'Neill, page 30. And so far I'm really enjoying it. No rating because I'm so early in, but it feels very whimsical, very charming. And also it does feel like it's gonna have a lot of darkness in it, despite the whimsy. And I am very excited to see what happens in the book. Okay, now let's talk about the experiment itself. Do I think that this is sustainable? Personally, not for me. Even though this is my full-time profession, this was so difficult to keep up with. I was constantly staying up way later, like 10:30 every single night to just barely get some of the things done that I needed to get done. And even with Patreon, I feel like I normally produce way more stuff. And this last week I did not because I was so short for time. I don't think I ended up timing it, but basically I would guess that it was about 4-ish hours a day. And if I was not interested in the book like The Honey Witch, it took even longer. And that was really hard actually to fit in, especially at the end of the day when I was really tired and a little bit more unmotivated. However, I do think that it shows that it's possible to read way more. I think though that the trick is you have to love what you're reading, because I flew through so many of these books, but the minute I picked up The Honey Witch and wasn't connecting to it is like the minute I it's like the only time I failed the experiment. I hit the 200 pages every single day aside from when I was doing The Honey Witch. Also, I feel really bad saying that. I don't think that the book is like the world's worstly written book ever or anything like that. I just really didn't connect to the writing. But yeah, I think that this has shown me the power of really connecting to your read. If you are not loving your book, you're probably not gonna read a lot. So see this as like a little sign. If you're reading and you're just not connecting to the book that you have, or you're not excited to read it, maybe just like forget about it and pick up a different book, because you should be excited to read all of the books that you're reading. So those are the results. Those are all the books that I read this week. I hope you enjoyed this. I actually had so much fun doing this reading challenge. I really like reading challenges. If you have any recommendations for a reading challenge you would like me to try, let me know down below in the comments, because I would absolutely do another one of these. And now that we have made it to this portion of the video, I would love to know the question of the day. What is one book that you have been able to read all in one setting? What was one book that was so unputdownable, you basically pulled an all-nighter reading it? And the emoji of the day is a shooting star. That's an emoji, right? I feel like if not, then just like a regular star. But yes, either a shooting star or a star. A big thank you to all of my patrons over in Fox and Wood, especially the Ink and Quill Club members. Thank you so much for being the executive producers of every single video that I create. And a huge thank you to all of you for watching, commenting, and liking. I love you guys so much. If you're interested in supporting me, you can check out my Patreon, or you can even just like this video. That really helps me out a lot too. And I think that's it. So until next time, my lovely bookish friends, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book, and I will chat with you very soon. Bye!